Today we have a man that needs no introduction. He's a former Speaker of the House, a presidential candidate, a TV commentator, a filmmaker, and a best-selling author. Good morning, Speaker Gingrich. Gingrich, how are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm always thrilled to have a chance to be at the Cats Roundtable.
Well, thank you so much for being with us and bringing Americans up to date. What the heck is going on in Republican politics? I mean, there's so much criticism, there's so much infighting. What can we do to solve these problems?
Well, this is a lot. Sometimes when you have these kind of campaigns, you have real confusion for a while. In 1980, Ronald Reagan basically had to stop in August and take his guys off to a conference for 2 solid days and get their act together because they were just going from mistake to mistake to mistake. And sometimes that happens. Trump's had a tough 2 weeks, but people need to remember just before those 2 weeks, he was ahead in every poll. So the chance for him to bounce back again, I think, is very real. Hillary has enormous liabilities. And things like this $400 million cash payment to hostage takers goes over very badly with the American people. And I think there are always going to be opportunities for Donald Trump and Mike Pence to gain ground just by contrasting how badly the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton would do. So, it is a period of turmoil. A lot of Republicans get very scared. The elite media is 95% against Trump, and they're doing everything they can to fan the flames of a panic. But the fact is that I think that this race is a long, long way from over. And the truth is that Hillary Clinton is probably the most dishonest person ever to run for president, and certainly the most corrupt ever to be nominated for president. And all of that weighs down on her, although it makes it very difficult for her ultimately, I think, to win the election.
Speaker, if I won $11,000 in Las Vegas and I tried to put it in the bank, I have to go through all kinds of rules and regulations. It's over $10,000. Now, $400 million they deliver in cash. What happens to this money?
Well, this is what is so crazy. And, of course, Obama yesterday proved that he either was lying to the American people or he's lying to himself, which may be even more fun, when he said that it wasn't a ransom payment. The Iranians demanded the money. We now have a witness from one of the hostages who was told they would not take off, their plane would not leave until the American plane arrived with the money. You can't get any clearer than that. It's almost like a movie. I expect to see Mel Gibson come through the door with Danny Glover because you got $400 million in small bills. I mean, it's just crazy. And this administration manages to lie to itself and pretend that it's okay, but it's not okay. They just arrested a guy, I think he's a policeman in the D.C. area, for trying to give $200 to ISIS. So it's illegal to try to give $200 to ISIS, but it's okay to give $400 million to the leading sponsor of state terrorism in the world. And by the way, the State Department still lists Iran as the leading sponsor of state terrorism. So, in effect, Barack Obama is taking your money to give it to terrorists who seize hostages so they can buy weapons and pay for terrorism. That is absolutely crazy.
It's mind-boggling. And over the last few days, watching television, they want to get Donald Trump's wife for illegal immigration or something silly like that, compared to, everybody else has free illegal immigration.
Well, look, I think when you come down to it, you look at the various attacks, the killing in London, for example, this week of an American woman who was knifed to death, and about 5 or 6 other people were knifed by somebody who's from Somalia. You look at Nice, where 84 people were killed by a man from Tunisia. You look at 1,200 women who were assaulted, 1,200 who were assaulted in Germany over New Year's largely by Syrian refugees. And you go down case by case by case, and what you find is that our elites, whether they're American or European, absolutely refuse to tell the truth. Barack Obama, sitting in the White House, protected by the Secret Service, can tell the rest of us we'll be safe. Hillary Clinton, who's had Secret Service protection since 1992 can tell the rest of the say they're not the ones who are at risk. But I think it's utterly irrational on the one hand to give $400 million in cash. I mean, imagine what that airplane must have looked like with $400 million stacked up. And by the way, that was against the professional advice of the Treasury Department and the Justice Department. So the career civil servants are saying, do not do this. And the politicians led by Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton are doing things that are totally destructive. And as you point out, you then have them wanting to bring more people here about whom they know nothing with no serious vetting, even though we know that in Europe this has begun to be a problem of serious proportions.
I mean, it's just mind-boggling. I had a call from one of our friends, and I'm not going to mention names, and I would never do that, that during his years at Baghdad, and he had a responsible position at Baghdad, they were delivering once a week a truckload with $1 billion in cash every week. Did you know anything about that at all? I mean, you were Speaker of the House during a period of time.
You're talking about the United States was doing that?
The United States was delivering to Baghdad.
I doubt if it was quite that high, but I'm certain that they delivered a lot of cash. And I know that when we went into Afghanistan, we literally had, I think, $20 bills in the garbage bags that we paid off the folks who were on our side to make sure that they would fight. But I don't know about in Baghdad. But the number sounds high. That would have been $52 billion a year, and I don't think that scale of money went over. But I would not be at all surprised to have seen a fairly large amount of money in cash, because that's how you operate in that part of the world. And if you want your government to be helpful, as Mr. Sad commentary, but the level of corruption and the level of bribery is breathtaking, and that's how they get things done.
And, Mr. Speaker, who has to sign on a dotted line for the Treasury Department? I mean, you almost want to laugh. For the Treasury Department to hand over $400 million in cash.
It had to be a presidential directive. I mean, the only way you could move that kind of a deal would be if the President of the United States personally signed a document that said, I am authorizing this to happen. And, of course, as Commander-in-Chief, he has very broad, he has the authority to be really stupid if he wants to be. And apparently Barack Obama relishes being pretty stupid because some of these things are, a seventh grader wouldn't do some of this stuff. They would know that it made no sense.
Absolutely correct. Speaker, it's Sunday morning. The American people are sitting around their kitchen, they're sitting around their den, drinking a hot black coffee. What would you like to tell them?
Well, I want to tell them that we have been in tight spots before, and we are a great country. We have 315 million remarkably inventive people. You're broadcasting from one of the great cities of the world, and we're going to work our way through all this stuff. And people ought to have a sense that in the long run, we're going to solve these things. Life is going to get better, and we're going to live longer. We're going to live healthier, and we're going to have more choices. But sometimes you have to go through a period where you have to fight it out and to make some tough decisions. And I think that's where we are right now.
I just want to tell the American people about your great documentary that you made. I enjoyed seeing it the first time. I look forward to seeing it again. Tell the American people about the documentary.
Well, Cliff and I were very honored to make The First American, which is a documentary about George Washington. And we did it in part to answer the question you just asked me a minute ago. I mean, here's a guy who sacrifices, goes into the field for 8 years to fight the American Revolutionary War, only spends 2 weeks at home in Vermont, in Mount Vernon in 8 years, almost gets wiped out, gets down to about 2,500 men, and a third of them don't have any boots and are leaving a trail of blood as they march in the snow. I mean, it's just a remarkable story of sacrifice and dedication and commitment. And when you get to know Washington, you begin to realize so many of the characteristics of courage and bravery and dedication to freedom that have made America a unique country. And so we're very proud. Anybody who'd like to see the things we do can go to GingrichProductions.com. We're very honored. We're trying to have a program now to get the first American in every school in the country, because we think it really could help young people understand better what it means to be an American and why they should be proud of their country.
I'd love to have a debut in New York, but we'll talk about it on the separate cover. Mr. Speaker, thank you. You're a great American, and you love America, and thank you for being with us this Sunday morning.
Well, great talking to you.
Take care. This is the Cats Roundtable. We'll be back to you after these few messages.